New England's trusted news source, ABC6 News at Noon.
Good afternoon and happy Wednesday. I'm Olivia DeRocha. We have a lot to get to today, but first, let's begin with a look at our sky cam. Warming trends today. Chelsea, it is so nice out. I could barely believe it. It felt like spring. Let's get right over to Chelsea. She's in the Weather Center. Speak there.
That's okay. It's because it's so nice out. We're all kind of flabbergasted that it's so beautiful out there this afternoon. We're getting brighter and brighter. You're getting sunshine popping through. We're sitting at 63 degrees in Providence right now. The record high for today is 66 degrees. So we're close to that. We're going to be watching those numbers closely into the afternoon. That breeze from the southwest still, but shifting a bit, starting to come in from the west-southwest at about 20 miles per hour. So there is a little bit of a breeze outside today. What we are looking at as we head through the later part of the day is that wind shifting, and these temperatures will eventually drop. You can almost see it up in that top corner of your screen, some blue shading, even to the northwest of Massachusetts at this point. All of us very mild. It's certainly a little bit cooler at the immediate coastline, but still warm for this time of year. We just have that breeze coming in right off the water. Those clouds in place, thinning out a bit, especially here in Providence. You can see a few showers just up to our north and our west. That's going to be that cold front actually coming through. You may see a few little isolated showers, but overall we're continuing to clear out. We cool down significantly overnight. We're much cooler tomorrow, and that's going to set the stage for snow in the forecast on Friday. A winter storm watch in effect for the area through the entire day on Friday. I'm going to break down all the details on what to expect in just a few minutes. Olivia?
You'll get outside while you can. Thank you, Chelsea. And happening now, Massachusetts Congressman Jake Auchincloss is wrapping up a business tour in Mansfield. He toured the Mansfield Bioincubator on Francis Ave, and that center works on science curriculum internships and employment opportunities for graduates of local colleges. Congressman Auchincloss is a U.S. Marine veteran who commanded infantry units in Afghanistan, and that gives him some insight into the current situation in Ukraine and the sanctions the U.S. is responding with.
The administration is calibrating the sanctions to ratchet up alongside Russian aggression. So there's been a first tranche of sanctions to reflect that Russia has unilaterally invaded these so-called independent republics, which are not independent republics, they are part of Ukraine. And there is still in reserve a series of sanctions should Putin decide to march on Kiev.
And Auchincloss says President Biden is working to protect Ukraine as a sovereign democracy while also unifying the NATO alliance. And also happening now, a virtual roundtable on opioid abuse prevention in Fall River. Senator Ed Markey is joining Mayor Paul Coogan for the event. Markey's office says he's working on federal solutions to stop fentanyl from reaching communities like Fall River. And now to world headlines, the latest in the growing tensions between Ukraine and Russia. Ukraine now preparing for a potential Russian invasion by declaring a state of the emergency and calling up its reserves. ABC's Doreen Shaw is in D.C. with the latest.
This morning, new video shows military vehicles in Russian-controlled separatist regions of eastern Ukraine as the international backlash against Russia intensifies. The Ukraine government says Russia-backed rebels are firing into government-held areas, appearing to be stoking a military action and a pretext for Russia to use for war. New images from private satellite company Maxar shows a buildup of Russian military supplies near Ukraine's border. The U.S. believes the Kremlin is also stocking up on blood supplies.
You don't need blood unless you plan on starting a war.
800 additional U.S. troops, along with fighter jets and helicopters, are being repositioned to support NATO allies in the region. President Biden condemning what he says is the beginning of a Russian invasion of Ukraine. In response, the U.S. is imposing punishing sanctions on Russian banks, business elites, and their families. The Kremlin is also blocked from trading on American and European markets.
No Russian financial institution is safe if the invasion proceeds.
Our Ian panel in Kiev.
Germany went ahead and froze this crucial natural gas pipeline known as Nord Stream 2, which runs from western Siberia into Germany. That will also have a big impact on Russia.
The move comes after President Vladimir Putin declared 2 Russian-backed separatist regions in eastern Ukraine as independent and then deployed his military in the so-called Donbass region, where rebel forces control about a third of the land. Analysts say Putin may also try to claim more of the region.
His plan all along has been to invade Ukraine.
President Biden threatening more sanctions if Russia doesn't back down.
Who in the Lord's name does Putin think gives him the right to declare new so-called countries on territory that belong to his neighbors?
And President Biden also warns that sanctions against Russia to, quote, defend freedom will cost Americans here some pain at the gas pump. Gas prices have already jumped more than 20% in the last month. In Washington, Faith Abube, ABC News.
And like we just heard, this conflict is already impacting your wallet. Experts say the economic sanctions President Biden placed on Russia could cause waves in the market, and you'll feel it at the pumps. ABC6 News reporter Laura Puglisi has more on that impact.
It's really time to start, tightening the belt and kind of brace ourselves for no end in sight in terms of gas prices coming down anytime soon.
The price of sanctions on Russia could soon be felt at the pumps. Diana Gugliotta with AAA says it will get worse before it gets better.
It's just very possible that Russia will choose to withhold oil from the global market in retaliation for these sanctions. And that's the fear driving the market up.
Across the country, the market is already up. Gas prices in Rhode Island and Massachusetts currently sitting at $3.54 a gallon. That's up about $1 from this time last year. And it's not set to slow down anytime soon.
When we look out about 10 months, we feel that gasoline will probably continue to rise at least the full first half of this year and definitely through the summer. We're hoping for some relief and in the fall to winter.
Gugliotta says Russia's crude oil accounts for 10 to 12% of oil globally. If the supply is cut off to the global market, that'll cause prices to soar, likely reaching over $4 a gallon, levels not seen since the Great Depression. And it's not just gas that could be impacted. Emily Chanel Justice with the Harvard Ukrainian Research Institute says it could impact some foods too.
Ukraine in the past 8 years has been ramping up its agricultural production, so cereals, grains, wheat products, those sort of things.
The U.S. and Europe likely to see a large influx of Ukrainians, especially if Putin decides to invade further.
The other element of humanitarian crisis is that will displace millions of Ukrainians into Europe and potentially to the U.S. as well. The estimates that I saw yesterday were something around 5 million Ukrainians.
The hope is that the sanctions will pressure Russia into choosing a more diplomatic route. But she says only time will tell. Laura Puglisi, ABC6 News.
And ABC6 wants to help you save some money on gas by using the Southern New England Gas Tracker. Now, listings on the lowest gas prices in Rhode Island and Massachusetts are there for you to check out, so you can go to the stations that work best for you. Just head to our website, abc6.com, and click on the Gas Tracker. It's right under the Community tab. A group of U.S. reps is asking President Biden to seek authorization from Congress before sending any troops into Ukraine, and the signature list is a rarity. It features both Democrats and Republicans, including Massachusetts Representative Jim McGovern. Also on the list, members of the squad, including AOC and Florida Republican Congressman Matt Gaetz. 43 members in total have signed that letter. And during his audience at the Vatican on Wednesday, Pope Francis says he feels great pain, anguish, and worry at alarming signs of escalation between Russia and Ukraine. The Pope is pleading for restraint, saying the peace of all is threatened. The Pope led an international day of prayer for Ukraine last month, and he's made multiple calls for peace in the region. Coming up on ABC6 News at noon, beware of those red light cams. We'll tell you where tickets are being issued electronically in East Providence. And a look at the steps you'll have to work through to get inside the Massachusetts State House as it reopens to the public. Also, after the break, a live report from Governor McKee's COVID-19 press conference discussing vaccination rates in school districts throughout the state. Now, what officials are asking districts to do if its vaccination rate is lower than 20%. Turning now to today's headlines, Governor Dan McKee minutes ago wrapping up a COVID-19 briefing in Providence. The governor highlighting the state's vaccination and booster efforts, particularly focusing on school-aged children. This presser coming about a week out from when Rhode Island is set to lift its statewide school mask mandate. ABC6 News reporter Hector Molina is live with this briefing. Hector.
Well, Olivia, while Rhode Island is one of the nation's overall leaders in vaccination rates, the same can't be said about certain school districts in the Ocean State, specifically among elementary school students. Just to give you an idea, I'm standing outside the Lillian Feinstein Elementary School here in Providence, and just 16% of their students are vaccinated. Now, the Department of Education 20% vaccination rate to hold clinics to get students vaccinated. And that's what's being done in communities in Providence, Central Falls, Pawtucket, and Woonsocket to get those numbers up. Now, the first will be held this Sunday here at Lillian Feinstein. Education Commissioner Angelica Infante Green provided a closer look on how the vaccination rate in Providence compares to other communities.
It is critical for communities like Providence, where 35% of eligible students have completed their primary vaccination series, compared to communities like East Greenwich, which is at 79. It's hard. It's hard to hear that.
Now, Infante Green was also asked about the mask mandate still in Providence schools and when that could be lifted. You'll hear her response tonight on the news at 4. In Providence, Hector Molina, ABC6 News.
All right, Hector, thank you. And now to an ABC6 follow-up. Some red light cameras in East Providence are now issuing fines. The trial period is over at Broadway at Grosvenor Ave and Broadway at Roger Williams Ave. Now, previously, drivers who ran those red lights got what looked like a citation in the mail, including a link to view the video of that violation. But now it's the real deal. The fine for running a red light isn't cheap. It's $85. The mayor wanted to install these cameras after reviewing state data showing speed was a factor in nearly half of fatal Ocean State crashes. The Massachusetts State House is back open to the public, but you'll have to jump through some hoops to get inside. Anyone entering has to stop at this tent outside you can see on your screen and offer proof of vaccination or a negative COVID test within the previous 24 hours. Now, that can be a rapid or a PCR test. The vaccination mandate is above and beyond the city of Boston's requirements. The State House was closed to the public for more than 700 days because of COVID concerns. Masks are required inside as well. And we'll get you ready for the PC Friars back in action at home tonight after falling a few spots in the national ranks. Coming up.
your ABC6 Storm Tracker weather with meteorologist Chelsea Priest.
Couldn't ask for a better afternoon out there in southern New England. We started the day with a lot of clouds. We're getting some sun popping through here and there. That being said, there's a few little showers just up to our north and our west right now, inching closer to Worcester. A very thin line of some rain showing up there. We may get some isolated, very quick showers coming through. Otherwise, we get brighter and brighter as the day goes on. Now, this little line right here is the sign that the cold front is getting much closer. We've been talking about it a few days now. We have really mild temperatures outside today. It's short-lived. Clouds over Richmond at the moment. The Preserve Club shows you a lot of overcast conditions. You're getting brighter. You're getting some sun popping through at times. And again, as soon as that little line of some showers makes its way through, and it may dry up before it even comes through here in Rhode Island, behind that, we get even brighter, but the temperatures will start to drop. Right now, we're in the 60s in Smithfield, in Providence, 60 for Taunton, 65 in Norwood, 64 in Boston right now. Average high for this time of year is in the low 40s, so we're more than 20 degrees above average. Now, it is cooler out towards the Cape and out along the immediate coastline. We have that breeze coming in from the southwest, and ocean temperatures are still only in the 30s this time of year, so it does keep us cooler at the coastline. Same thing happens in the summertime. The record for today, 66 degrees, set back just a few years ago in 2017. So we'll be watching that. We may get close to it. We could tie it today, potentially break it if we get even more sun popping through. It'll have to time out just right before the winds start to completely shift, because it's already happening. Right now, the breeze is still coming in strongly from the southwest, but it's going to start to shift as the day goes on. And as that wind starts to shift, these wind gusts will bring in colder temperatures, and the temps are actually going to plummet very quickly overnight. So you get brighter into the afternoon before the sun sets. From there, the temperatures go down. By 9 o'clock, we're down to about 40 degrees. Overnight, eventually dipping down into the 20s. And that is going to set the stage for snow in the forecast for the last day of the work week. We'll get to that in just a second. Again, a little line of some showers just up to our north and our west. This line comes through. You can see clear skies just behind that. And we do get brighter, and we'll clear out into the later part of the day. We end up with clear conditions this evening, and temperatures down to the 20s. Tomorrow ends up being kind of a partly sunny day. At times you get some sunshine. At times you have some clouds out there. Temperatures tomorrow only in the mid to upper 30s, about 30 degrees cooler than our temperatures outside this afternoon. From there, we are dry tomorrow, but by late tomorrow night, clouds really thicken up. And after midnight, figure 1, 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, snow starts to move in. And at the onset of the system, we have a good thump of snow coming down. This is going to be some heavy snow piling up pretty quickly. And then things get a little bit more interesting as the morning progresses. We track this mixing line. We track some rain that may impact the coastline. This happens by about mid to late morning. The Friday morning commute's certainly going to be a rough one. By the later part of the day, the system wraps around. We may end as a little bit of snow, and then it gets out of here, but it stays really cold into the weekend. So snow totals are totally dependent on how much mixing comes into play and where that rain ends up winding up. North of the Pike, around the Pike, that's where it stays all snow. That's where there's 8 to 12 inches possible. A lot of us in that 4 to 8 inch range. I want you to keep an eye on that range that's there for a reason. At the coastline, there may be spots that only get 2 or 3 inches, and then rain comes down on top of that and a lot washes away. But certainly be prepared for a tough Friday morning commute. There's a winter storm watch in effect for about 24 hours, because as soon as we start to dry out, temperatures continue to stay well below freezing, and everything that is either snow or rain or sleet now becomes very, very icy, and we stay chilly into the weekend. Olivia?
Thank you so much, Chelsea. Let's check in on the PC Friars right now. The PC Friars are back on the court tonight, hosting Xavier at the Dunk. PC dropped 3 spots in the AP national ranks after losing to Villanova last week, but bounced back with a weekend win over Butler. The tip-off is set for 7 o'clock, and Providence is looking for a regular season sweep. The Friars beat the then 21st-ranked Musketeers last month. Former URI basketball coach Dan Hurley now down at UConn, and he picked up a unique ejection last night. Hurley was given a first technical foul for apparently banging the scorer's table, and then picked up a second foul after hyping up the crowd. Number 21 UConn upsets number 8 Villanova 71-69. Coming up after the break, jury deliberations now underway in the trial of 3 former officers charged in connection to George Floyd's death. How much time all could spend behind bars if they're found guilty. Checking in on national headlines now to Minneapolis, where jury deliberations are getting underway in the federal trial of the 3 other police officers involved in the murder of George Floyd. ABC's Rena Roy has the latest.
For nearly a month, federal jurors have heard emotional testimony in this Minneapolis courthouse. Now the fate of 3 former police officers is in their hands. Prosecutors argue 2 Tao, J. Alexander King and Thomas Lane, violated George Floyd's civil rights by doing nothing to control Derek Chauvin or save Floyd, who they say died a slow and torturous death when Chauvin knelt on George Floyd's neck for more than 9 minutes.
Each person has a level of responsibility, and these charges determine where each person lies on that level of responsibility. So you can absolutely see varying verdicts.
Defense attorneys blame Chauvin alone, arguing he was in charge at the scene. Tao, the one seen trying to manage the crowd, told jurors he had no idea Floyd's injuries were so severe. King, a rookie officer trained by Chauvin, said, "He was my senior officer and I trusted his advice." And Lane, who at one point asked if they should roll Floyd over during the ordeal and got in the ambulance with Floyd, testified on Chauvin's response, saying it seemed reasonable at the time. If convicted, all 3 defendants could face life in prison or the death penalty. Those 3 officers also face state charges. Meantime, Chauvin was sentenced to 22.5 years in state prison for killing Floyd. In December, he pled guilty in federal court to violating Floyd's civil rights. His plea agreement will allow him to serve that sentence concurrently. Rena Roy, ABC News, New York.
Coming up after the break, Chelsea has another look at your beautiful afternoon forecast. Whether used to help teach a new trick or for no reason at all, dogs respond to their treats. So to honor the goodie that helps reward them and keep them in line, today is National Dog Biscuit Day. So find a special goodie to give to your pup. And Chelsea, it's a beautiful day to even get outside and take your dog outside.
So many of those pups must be enjoying life today, I would have to imagine, with these mild temperatures in place. We are going to get brighter and brighter as we head through the day. There may still be a little sprinkle out there, but as we head through the later part of the day, we continue to clear out. It's breezy and that wind shifts. 20s overnight, 30s for highs tomorrow. The entire 7-day after today is below average. And I am tracking snow moving into the area overnight Thursday into Friday. A tough morning commute on Friday. Switching over to some mixing and some rain in spots, and we stay chilly into the weekend. Olivia?
All right, Chelsea, thank you. Definitely get outside while you can. And thanks for joining us for ABC6 News. First news at noon. The news continues first at 4. And for news and weather anytime, just head to abc6.com. We're always on there.